Welcome to the news update from the World Service of All India Radio. Today is Thursday, 8th October 2020. I'm Maria Albina Michael with Amrit Bhushan.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today launched a campaign by way of a tweet on Jan Andolan for COVID-19 appropriate behavior in view of the upcoming festivals and winter season, as well as the opening up of the economy. In a tweet, Mr. Modi appealed to people to unite to fight corona. He urged the people to always remember to wear a mask, wash hands, follow social distancing and practice Do Gaz Ki Duri. He said, "Together we will succeed and win against COVID-19. The Prime Minister said India's COVID-19 fight is people-driven and gets great strength from our COVID warriors. He said, "Our collective efforts have helped save many lives." Mr. Modi said, "We have to continue the momentum and protect our citizens from the virus." A concerted action plan will also be implemented by central government ministries and departments and state governments and union territories, with region-specific targeted communication in high caseload districts.
The government said that the country's recovery rate among the COVID-19 patients has reached 85.25%. During the last 24 hours, 83,011 COVID patients have recovered. Health Ministry said the total number of recoveries has reached 58,27,704. The ministry said the constantly increasing recoveries have ensured that the actual caseload of the country has reduced and currently comprises only 13.20% of the total positive cases. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 9,02,425. The ministry said effective implementation of centre's strategic and graded test, track, treat approach has led to higher recoveries and lower fatality.
Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadauria today said that Indian Air Force has demonstrated its resolve, operational capability and will to effectively engage with the adversary when the need arises. Addressing on the occasion of Air Force Day, Mr. Bhadauria said Indian Air Force deployed its combat assets at short notice to handle any eventuality and provided proactive support to all the requirements of deployment and sustenance for the Indian Army. Referring to recent standoff on the northern frontier, he commended the Air Warrior for their quick response. On the preparedness of the Indian Air Force, he said, emerging security scenario mandates a greater need to have a strong IAF to fight across domains across the entire spectrum of the warfare.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a bilateral meeting with Japanese Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi in Tokyo. During the 13th India-Japan Foreign Ministers' Strategic Dialogue, progress made in India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership was reviewed. Discussions were also held on maritime security, trade and investment, manufacturing, skill development, connectivity and infrastructure, health and wellness, Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative, and UN reforms. Highlighting the need for robust digital and cybersecurity systems, both the ministers welcomed the finalization of the text of Cybersecurity Agreement. The agreement promotes cooperation in capacity building, research and development in the areas of critical information infrastructure, 5G, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence. Mr. Jaishankar and Mr. Motegi agreed that the strong and enduring partnership between the two countries will play a pivotal role in overcoming challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Both the ministers emphasized that a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific region must be based on diversified and resilient supply chains.
Air India will operate its next Vande Bharat flights to China on Guangzhou to Delhi sector on 23rd and 30th October 2020. This will be a big relief for Indian nationals stranded in China who want to return home due to compelling reasons. Indian Embassy in Beijing, in a notification on Tuesday, has advised to register with the embassy or the consulates to avail any of these flights. This will also enable many stuck Indians to unite with their family members and to join back work in China. However, China has not yet cleared the decks for entry of foreign students to China. Over 23,000 Indian students are still waiting for their return to China. Indian Embassy in Beijing is in regular touch with relevant authorities in Government of China. This is the 7th phase of Vande Bharat mission, which started on 1st October 2020.
The Union Cabinet gave its approval for signing a Memorandum of Cooperation MOC in the field of cybersecurity between India and Japan. The MOC will enhance cooperation in areas of mutual interest, which includes capacity building in the area of cyberspace, protection of critical infrastructure, cooperation in emerging technologies, sharing information on cybersecurity threats, and malicious cyber activities. Another MOU was signed between Zoological Survey of India and its Canadian counterpart on barcoding of faunal genomes. The government has also given its nod to major reforms in the marketing of natural gas in the country. The cabinet, under the chairmanship of Prime Minister, approved the reforms to push the usage of natural gas.
Democratic Vice President nominee Kamala Harris described the Trump administration's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic as the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of the US, as she opened the only vice presidential debate with a sharp attack on Vice President Mike Pence, who leads the president's coronavirus task force. The California senator said Americans have sacrificed too much due to the incompetence of the administration, referring to the COVID-19 pandemic that has claimed over 200,000 American lives and battered the country's economy. President Donald Trump, who tested positive for COVID-19, is facing criticism over his handling of the health crisis and downplaying the threat from the deadly virus. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden has accused Trump of hiding the facts from the American people.
The European Union called for cessation of hostilities in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict zone as Armenia said that the territory's capital, Stepanakert, came under attack again. Azerbaijan has rejected claims of targeting civilian infrastructure in Stepanakert. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan said that the actions of Turkey and Azerbaijan amounted to a terroristic attack over Nagorno-Karabakh that formed part of the continuation of Armenian genocide.
According to WHO data, the number of infected cases has crossed 35.53 million worldwide. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus called for solidarity and political commitment by all leaders to ensure equal distribution of vaccines when they become available. 9 experimental vaccines are in the pipeline of the WHO's COVAX Global Vaccine Facility that aims to distribute 2 billion doses by the end of 2021. Meanwhile, India continues to lead the global tally with over 5.7 million recoveries so far. It has achieved a recovery rate of over 85%.
Union Minister of Railways and Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal has said that the trade and economy are one of the most important pillars of India-European Union EU partnership. Addressing the diplomatic and industry leadership session on EU-India collaborative economic growth, he said India is also hopeful of working with EU towards a free trade agreement, for which he suggested a preferential trade agreement may be inked in a near future. He said both India and European Union are natural partners who are willing to engage as responsible global citizens in order to address pressing global challenges.
The Central Asian nation of Kyrgyzstan slid deeper into chaos Wednesday as rival opposition factions made grabs for power. Earlier, the Kyrgyz Central Election Commission declared the results of the parliamentary elections held on October 4 void amid violent protests. Meanwhile, United Nations has said that UN Secretary-General is closely monitoring the situation in the Kyrgyz Republic, where protests erupted in the aftermath of the October 4 parliamentary elections, reportedly leaving one person dead and over 100 injured. The Secretary-General regretted the loss of life and urged all parties to exercise the utmost restraint and refrain from violence. He urged all Kyrgyz actors to engage in dialogue and agree on a way forward within the constitutional framework.
In the French Open tennis, Greek youngster Stefanos Tsitsipas reached his second Grand Slam semi-final as he brushed aside 13th seed Russian Andrei Rublev in straight sets. 5th seed Tsitsipas needed just an hour and 55 minutes to beat Rublev 7-5, 6-2, 6-3 at the Philippe Chatrier. It was also Tsitsipas' first win on the tour, level against Rublev, who had headed into the quarterfinal on the back of winning both their previous meetings, including the Hamburg final last month. In the women's singles, two-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova overcame some potentially costly double falls to beat 66th ranked Laura Siegemund 6-3, 6-3 and reached the French Open semi-finals for the second time.
You were listening to news updates from the World Service of All India Radio.
You were listening to the day's commentary on Quad Strengthens Cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. The script by Dr. Tithili Basu, strategic analyst on East and Southeast Asia, and it was read by Amrit Bhushan.
Japan hosted the second India-Australia-Japan-US quadrilateral Quad ministerial meeting. India's Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar, along with the US Secretary of State Michael Pompeo, Australian Foreign Affairs Maurice Payne and Japanese Foreign Minister Motegi Toshimitsu met in Tokyo to discuss the challenges and opportunities in the post-COVID-19 international order. The meeting holds importance given the strategic backdrop of an ongoing pandemic, uncertain global economic outlook, intensifying US-China competition, and escalating regional tensions. The first India-Australia-Japan-US Quad ministerial meeting was held in the US on the sidelines of UN General Assembly meetings in September 2019, with the objective of advancing openness and economic prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region. The focus was on supporting a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific. As the ministers gathered in Tokyo, the agenda was to develop a coordinated response to deal with the post-pandemic challenges, from making affordable vaccines and sharing each other's best practices in fighting the coronavirus on the one hand and dealing with the severe economic contraction across the world and ensuing financial problems on the other. One of the key priorities remain upholding the rules-based order, reinforced by the rule of law, transparency, freedom of navigation, respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty, and peaceful resolution of disputes. ASEAN centrality and ASEAN-led regional architecture remains the key pillar in furthering a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific and maintaining strategic stability in the region. There is deeper strategic coordination and issue-based alignment amongst the Quad nations. Security cooperation is strengthened through logistics agreements. Furthermore, joint exercises have reinforced interoperability between these navies. India's Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative plays an important role in advancing safe, secure, and stable maritime domain. Also, buttressing robust 2+2 ministerial dialogues and strategic Indo-Pacific trilaterals including the India-US-Japan and India-Japan-Australia have complemented the Quad. Following the pandemic and the unfolding shifts in the global economic and technological setting, it is necessary to enhance the resilience of supply chains. Disruption in supply chains have emerged as a key concern for most economies following the COVID-19 pandemic. Thus, linking value chains and creating a network of resilient supply chains with appropriate capacities, especially related to critical components, is a top priority. In this regard, some of the Quad members have taken concrete steps. For instance, Australia-India-Japan Supply Chains Resilience Initiative is taking shape in order to build trustworthy, dependable and reliable supply chain in the Indo-Pacific region. Building quality infrastructure and promoting regional connectivity is important in advancing free and open Indo-Pacific. In this regard, the Quad nations have supported adopting global best practices and upholding highest standards of governance, including securing transparent and sustainable financing. In addition, regional security challenges were discussed with focus on counter-terrorism, cyber and maritime security. The foreign ministers arrived in Tokyo quite soon after the new Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga assumed charge in September following Shinzo Abe's resignation. Former Japanese Prime Minister Abe is often considered as the key architect in pushing the Quad framework. The ministers expressed confidence in advancing Mr. Abe's efforts in bringing together like-minded countries based on shared universal values and mutuality of strategic interests. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, in his opening remarks at the Quad ministerial meeting, has stressed that India intends to pursue collective solutions to global challenges, including global recovery from the pandemic and reform of multilateral institutions, when it assumes responsibility as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council for 2 years beginning 2021. During his visit, the External Affairs Minister also had bilateral discussions with his counterparts from the US, Australia and Japan. Japan is one of the key pillars of India's Act East policy. As Prime Minister Suga takes charge, India is confident in further accelerating the momentum set in the India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership.
You were listening to the day's commentary on Quad Strengthens Cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. The script by Dr. Tithili Basu, Strategic Analyst on East and Southeast Asia, and it was read by Amrit Bhushan. This commentary came to you from the World Service of All India Radio.